The Department of Public Lands has recently completed an environmental site assessment and unexploded ordnance munitions of explosive concern survey for a former World War II era U.S. military site on Tinian. The site assessment and survey was funded by a Brownsfield grant totaling $350,000 awarded to DPL by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The Division of Environmental Quality assisted DPL in acquiring the grant and provided technical support throughout the course of the project. The purpose of the ESA was to assess the nature and extent of potential munitions-related contamination in the surface and near-surface soils at the site. Masalog Ammunition Depot is an approximately 30-acre site identified as Lot 271T61, located at the southeastern edge of Pina Ridge.
There are probably about 20 or 30 revetments, I would say, on site. There are slips, trips, fall hazards, so just be aware of where you're stepping. We are going to be following the UXO technicians. They're going to be making sure that we're traversing through the jungle and on the trails and the areas that we're supposed to be so that we don't stumble across any munitions.
Historic records indicate that the site was used for munitions storage and disposal during and after the war.
Obviously, they moved most of the munitions somewhere. Reports that I've seen said that they may have just burned them. Another report says that they moved the munitions to a quarry and just dumped them in a quarry, and that has yet to be found.
EA Engineering, Science and Technology conducted the site assessment and soil sampling concurrently during 2 weeks of fieldwork in December of 2016.
The blue lines shown on the map are the cut lines that we've established before the project, and the grid nodes here. So we're standing at the Mike 600 grid node, and that's how we keep ourselves oriented. Each yellow box here is a 100 by 100 foot box, and each 100 by 100 foot area has a cut line at least on one side of it. And then when the UXO crew sweeps, they sweep from cut line 200 feet through the woods to the cut line, pivots around and comes back and sweeps the next 200 foot back to this cut line.
Switches on here that turn them on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We like to sweep, if it's full of metal and scrap, we like to sweep on a 2 or you're going to pick up everything that's really not. So we like to sweep on a 2, and that's good for about a foot down. And if it's something big, it'll really chirp off loud.
After the UXO technicians have gone through the grid and swept the grid, we have a bunch of flags that are placed into the ground, and those are our either surface metal that they've located or subsurface debris that needs to be investigated at a later time. It's an unknown at this point. So we use our GPS and we go through and we GPS each one of these locations. Each decision unit is marked in the red on the map, and it represents about 6 acres per decision unit. And our procedure indicates that we'll come through here at 30 random locations and dig 30 holes, and from each of those holes we'll take a small increment of soil and place it into our sample bag, and all of those 30 increments get combined together, and that will give us an average concentration of the contaminants that we're looking for across this 6-acre site.
The soil samples were analyzed for explosives, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, metals, and white phosphorus, which are constituents related to munitions storage and disposal.
And you want to make sure it's all mixed well. And then once you mix it well, you have 2 containers. One is going to measure white phosphorus, and the other is going to measure moisture content.
Results showed elevated concentrations of naphthalene and silver in some soil samples. The concentrations of these constituents are below U.S. EPA environmental screening levels for residential or commercial land use, and therefore do not pose a human health concern for direct exposure. 4 degraded bombs were found on the site, and more than 1,200 subsurface magnetic anomalies were identified based on 33% screening of the site.
Our procedure out here is on the sweep line. That is done by myself. That procedure is done by myself along with the team leader there, and then we identify what it is. whether we're going to call it a material of explosive concern, or we're going to call it a material deemed as safe. And this one is a material with an explosive material in it. The assumption is that it's still full. This is the nose area. It's basically just a ballistic shield that lets it fly through the air a little bit smoother, as well as adds weight to it. This is the back end, and these are some of the little canisters in this area.
The site remains a significant UXO hazard, and DPL requests that the public refrain from entering. DPL intends to apply for future U.S. EPA Brownsfield funding for UXO removal at the Masalog Ammunition Depot site, in addition to confirmation soil sampling.
The time we collect the sample until it gets delivered to the laboratory. So when we go to ship the sample, we'll seal the cooler with tape, and we'll also put custody seals over the top of the cooler and we'll sign and initial them.
EA Engineering, Science and Technology Incorporated was contracted via competitive proposal under direction of the Department of Finance Division of Procurement and Supply. The project request for proposal, sampling and analysis plan, and Phase 1 and 2 ESA reports were approved by the U.S. EPA Region 9. For more information, contact the Department of Public Lands at 234-3751.